Please do add me to Pia on the Slack group. I'm not sure how that happened.
All right. Good morning. This is the International CBAP Study Group. Today is April 18th, 2026, and we are going to be covering chapters 3, 4, and 5 in our practice test. And I will re-add anybody that got dropped out of the Slack channel so that you have access back to it, because that's where our messaging and our materials that I've created are. Y'all ready to go?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. Elements included in the planned business analysis approach task. So this is a single task. And remember, this is going to be chapter 3. This is going to be business analysis, planning, and monitoring. So the elements for this task, let's compare them down instead of me reading them. These three all of them have planning approach, so that's not an exclusion factor. Let's see. This one has formality and level of detail of business deliverables, as does this one and this one. So this one doesn't have it. Do we need it?
I think it's required.
Okay. Business analysis activities is in all of them. Timing of business analysis work is in all of them. Complexity and risk is in all of them. Acceptance is in all of them. This one has attitudes. Do we need attitudes?
No.
No, I
Okay.
think not.
So we can eliminate that one as well. Come on. There we go. And let's see, what's in this one that isn't in that one? This one has communication needs.
I think it should
Do
just
we
be
need communication needs?
no. No.
No.
So do we
See,
feel like the answer is planning approach, formality, level of detail of deliverables, business analysis activities, timing of business analysis work, complexity and risk, and acceptance? Is that our list?
Yep.
Mhm.
These are the stated elements of the planned business analysis approach task. One reason I approach these answers like this in the way that I do is because I've seen these on the CBAP. You have to go through and you have to figure out what's different between them, and just reading it all doesn't tell me the information I need. So it's a strategy I developed, and I hope that it will be beneficial for you as well.
And we are having a good start.
We're having a good start. Yes, we are. During a workshop, participants are constructing a container for a product as if it were being sold in a retail store. They are being asked to identify what features users of the product would find beneficial. So here's the scenario. It's giving you two questions. In the above scenario, what is the purpose of the game? Is it used to identify related or similar features or themes? Used to help identify features of the product being described? Used to identify hidden assumptions or perspectives? Or used as an input to the marketing plan by product management? So first of all, what is this that we're doing? What is this technique called?
Brainstorming.
Is it?
Control participants are being asked to identify. It's a workshop.
Yeah. No work.
Okay, look at this. They're constructing a container for a product. Welcome, Gabrielle. Gabrielle, I'm going to ask you to test your audio. Can you talk to us? You're on mute right now. Okay. Well, you work on that.
So
Oh,
better
you
now?
came up. I can hear you. This is
Fine.
wonderful.
And a good quality?
It's good quality. I can understand you. It's picking up on transcription, and there's no echo. I am so excited. Super pumped. Excellent. Okay. So the participants are constructing a container for a product. Which technique is this whenever you create something like this? It doesn't even have to be physical.
Business model. No, that's more from a business model kind of perspective. Something to do with the modeling, I suppose.
So this is one of the elicitation techniques where you run an experiment and you create something
Okay, okay.
with information you didn't have before.
Okay, something like a prototype.
Say it again.
Something like a prototype.
A prototype,
Prototype.
yes. They're creating
Yeah,
a
prototype.
prototype. Or it's a model that doesn't have functionality, but it's something that they can interact with. Okay. So they're being asked to identify the features. What is the purpose of the game? Used to identify related or similar features or themes. Used to identify features of the product being described. Used to identify hidden assumptions or perspectives. Used as an input into the marketing plan by product management. Which one do y'all think is we should eliminate?
D for Denmark.
Right. We're not trying to create input into their marketing plan. That's not our goal, is it?
Yeah.
So what do you think is the right answer?
Either B or C.
Okay. We
Even
got a
as
vote for
Johnson
B
Walker.
and a vote for C. Any other votes?
What future users? I mean, it's not use cases, right? It's users.
Which will use.
I don't understand your statement, Chetna.
Sorry, I was reading it more like additional features to the product which would be beneficial. But here it's about the kind of users who will find the product beneficial once it's been launched, once the product is marketed. So
Right, but
trying to interpret what the
it's still going
question
to be
is,
features
future
that we're
users.
talking about.
Future users.
Yeah, okay. So I'll go with B for
I
Bahamas.
think B from my end as well.
Okay, Gabrielle, what do you think?
A.
You like A?
Yes.
Okay, I've got 2 votes for B and 1 vote for A. Let's test B. So the purpose of this technique is to build a joint understanding of a problem or solution. Let's check A. This is the purpose of an affinity map collaborative game, and that's not what we're talking about up here. So we know B is the correct answer. Let's look at question 2 on the same scenario. What is the name of the collaboration technique being used? Is this collaboration technique called Remember the Future, Product Box, Fishbowl, or Affinity Map? What should we eliminate?
Affinity map, I think the previous answer said so.
Okay. And what do we think is the correct answer?
B or C?
Okay.
Product box.
Product box, I would also go with B.
Okay. Gabrielle, what do you think?
Don't know.
Okay, let's test product box. So a product box has helped to identify features of a product that help drive interest in the marketplace. And so this is going to be the 10th technique. I don't know which one that is. It's a collaboration technique. Elements included in the Identify Business Analysis Performance Improvements task, so we know which one it is. We also know that this task is in Chapter 3 in Business Analysis Planning and Monitoring. Elements of this one include which of the following? They all have, let's see, performance analysis or performance reporting. Which one is that?
Analysis.
So we want analysis. So it's this one or, well, or it's this one. So this one has assessment measures, that one does. This one has variance analysis, this one has analyzed results. Which one is it?
There is no variance analysis.
Okay, so
So
that's not it.
Correct.
So we think it's this one, so let's go through it. Performance analysis, assessment measures, analyze results, recommend actions for improvement. Do we all agree that that's the right list of elements for this technique?
Yeah, I go with C as well.
This is a comprehensive list of the elements included in the Identify Business Analysis Performance Improvements task. I want to remind you, elements are the things that you must do within the task to get the task completed. So it's not, you don't always have to do them, but it's a really good idea to go through and at least consider, do I need to do this thing? More often than not, you do. Gibson works at a financial institution in Toronto. The company is undergoing a significant change. Gibson is accountable for the solution scope and can provide insight to be utilized when assessing the changes. So he's accountable for solution scope and insight to be utilized when addressing the changes. So, what kind of stakeholder is Gibson? With those responsibilities, is he an account executive, a project manager, a solution architect, or a sponsor? Which one should we eliminate?
the solution architect
A,
and the accountable executive.
Right,
accountable executive, we get rid of. Yeah.
right. So we think he's either the project manager or the sponsor. Which one do we think is the right answer?
Solutions.
I will go with sponsor. Solution scope, yeah,
Yes.
assessing the changes. When assessing the changes, but it doesn't say when approving the changes.
Doesn't
So,
say approving, you're right.
so yeah, I'll change it maybe to project manager.
Okay.
Yeah,
Insight to
project
be
manager.
utilized when assessing the changes, and he's accountable for solution scope.
I'll go with project
Okay,
manager
now
as well.
responsible account.
Yeah.
So
Gabrielle, what do you think?
It's accountable executive or sponsor, but much more accountable executive.
Okay, let's test this. So the project sponsor is accountable for the solution scope. The PM reviews the changes to determine if additional project work is required, but he's not accountable for the solution scope. Remember, accountable is the one neck that you choke if it's not done properly. If it fails, that's the one neck you choke. That's always going to be your sponsor because they are the ones that are accountable for the whole project. The project manager is the one that's responsible for identifying if there's risks, if there's personnel changes, reporting the schedule, things like that. But the sponsor is the one that's accountable for the solution scope. They're the ones
But
who says, "Okay, cut that part out or add this other part in." We have a new vendor I want you to use. Does that
because
make sense?
because of what is it not the accountable executive?
Yes, the project manager does the execution. The sponsor is accountable.
But
But yeah, what would be
could
the
you
sorry, you go, Gabriel.
could you put your the A?
Accountable executive.
Yes.
Some organizations use this term for the sponsor, but it's not used in the BABOK. You got to use only the terms in the BABOK.
Ah. So was not incorrect, it's only not used in the BABOK.
Right, right. It's the sponsor may be the accountable executive, but this isn't the term that the BABOK uses. This is the term the BABOK uses.
Yeah, let me ask Jose, why did you change your answer?
Because of the assessing the changes. I was putting the sponsor as the one to be utilized when approving the changes.
Well, assessing would be a critical element of approving, right?
Yeah, yeah. You cannot approve something that you didn't actually.
That's right. You have to do the evaluation before you can approve or disapprove. Okay, let's move on.
One thing which might be helpful in the future,
Yes.
I mean, either a BA or PM, we are not we are not setting the scope of a solution. It is the sponsor, they want the solution with the certain features, with the certain scopes. Maybe that might be helpful to identify the roles if we're going to have similar questions.
Right. Let me say I said this in another class earlier this week and it helped people, so I'm going to say it for y'all. Think about the sponsor coming in and he says, "Okay, I got my business case approved." It's his business case. He owns the business case. So that's the goal of the project. But he's going to also say things like, I want you to use this manufacturer. I want to have that project manager. He gets to dictate some of the requirements. He owns the solution scope. He says this is going to be included and that's not going to be included. And then when people come and they say, we think we ought to not do this thing or we ought to add this thing, he's going to have to assess that for his solution scope and make the approval or decline it. So he owns this toy that we are working through the project on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Let's move forward. As a business analyst, the types of activities that you'll perform are documented in the business analysis approach. So the business analysis approach is the output of the planned business analysis approach task. The prescribed activities may be influenced by which one of the following. So the activities, are they influenced by stakeholders, organizational methodologies, techniques used, business analyst knowledge? So as we are working through the planned business analysis approach and we are creating our business analysis approach document that has inside of it, let me expand my column here. It has inside of it the planning approach, the formality and level of detail of our deliverables, the business analysis activities, the complexity and risk, and how we are going to get and track our acceptance. All those things, what influences it? Is it the stakeholders, organizational methodologies, techniques used, or business analyst knowledge? Which one should we eliminate?
Stakeholders?
Tell me why you like stakeholders for this answer.
I mean, just comparing with the options available, I think the documentation being done by the business analyst is more so around the techniques, what gets used, the level of knowledge the business analyst holds, and to some extent the organizational formatting around, what standards and it gets dictated around the methodologies, what is currently being followed. So just comparing between the four options, I would say stakeholders would be the last, but it's again just a guesswork given that I have not really read through the chapter.
Okay, okay. Do I have any other votes?
I will probably go with organizations methodologies.
Okay.
influenced by the organization methodologies.
Gabrielle, what do you think?
Uh, Also B.
Okay, let's test it. The BABOK states that the organization's adopted methodologies frequently influence the business analysis activities that are selected. So, so the activities that we do are highly impacted by, are we doing waterfall or agile? Let's just make it easy. If we're doing waterfall, we're going to do all of our requirements gathering, as soon as we identify our stakeholders and develop relationships and understand the need. If we aren't doing waterfall, if we're doing iterative or some form of hybrid, we're going to spread that out and do things like high enough level requirements, and then right before we do development, we're going to do the refinement, and we're going to have a lot more prioritization discussions. So the organization's methodologies is really going to impact what we do as we're creating our business analysis approach document. Y'all are understanding the logic on this. Good job. What are the possible forms that a business analyst information package could include? So this is the item we're talking about. And would it be informal documentation, text, matrices, diagrams, and presentations, formal documentation, or formal and informal documentation? First of all, what task is it that we create our business analysis information package?
Mission.
Is that a thing that we create?
Could it be business analysis information management here?
Well, the business analysis information management. You mean plan business analysis information management? Comes out, the output of that is information management approach. That's how we're going to do it. What this is talking about, and the reason I know it is because of the answers, this is talking about requirements. When we are working with our requirements, we have gone through all of our list. Well, we're going through our elicitation, right? And we're looking at how we're documenting our requirements. The requirements would be documented in these one of these formats. So it's saying what are the possible forms? It wants the list of the possible forms of requirements. Is it? I'll read. Go ahead.
Formal and informal.
Formal and informal. Why do you like that answer, Jose?
It's the most complete.
Okay.
Text, trees, yeah.
I think B or D.
Why do you like B maybe more than D?
I mean, we're talking of a package and it says possible forms. I
Okay.
mean, I'm kind of deflecting between B or D. I'm not quite certain.
Okay. Okay, I've got 2 votes for D and 1 vote for B. Gabrielle, what do you think?
Number D.
Okay, 3 votes for D. Let's test it. So it's okay. This just shows us areas we can improve. So you had that one thing to study, right? Text matrices and diagrams can be considered formal or informal documentations. Presentations are a separate form. So formal and informal include these 3. Presentations are outside of that.
When we say outside, Thea, I mean, what category would be a presentation under?
You know what? I don't. I think it's formal and informal documentation, which both include these, and then there's presentations. I don't think that presentations falls in either one, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
But here's where the answer's at, 4.4.4.1.
Yeah, just looking it up now.
Open your Babok and just put a post-it note. I need to study this area. Okay, Samira has been engaged as a business analyst on a railway track design project for monorail in Toronto, Canada. She is currently planning for the approaches she will take to perform various business analysis activities. What are key driving factors when considering a business analysis approach selection? So this is really the question. All the rest is just giving you background. She's planning her approach for the project and the key driving factors for this. So the task we're on is plan business analysis approach 3.1 and possible answers. Project specific standards for business analysts, organizational standards for business analysis, business need for the project, or stakeholders' preferred approach. Is there one we can eliminate?
Project specific standards for business analysis, because organizational standards will take over rather than at a project level.
That's good reasoning. Is there something else we can eliminate? So what do we think the correct answer is?
The key driving factor, I would say, is the business need.
Do you feel like this is the correct answer, Gabrielle?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, needs would definitely be the input. However, in terms of the elements, I think the stakeholders' preferred approach is also one of the elements. So when we say key driving factor,
Mm-hmm. When considering the business analysis approach, I don't think this is asking for an input, is it? Jose, what do you think the correct answer is? I've got a vote for C and a vote for D.
Okay, now that you mentioned that it's not an input but a key driving factor, I would go with stakeholders' preferred approach, something
ditto.
that they are most used to.
Let's test it. I may be wrong, guys. I'm sorry. Let's read this. So the reason business need for the project is correct is the business analysis approach is shaped by the need, the problem, or opportunity faced by the organization. It's necessary to consider what is known about the need at the time of planning. So let's work through that. What's known about the need. So if we're given a business case that it's like there's so many unknowns when we are planning our approach to the project, if we have a whole bunch of unknowns, we're going to treat it very differently than if everything is known. It's like we know exactly what we're going to do, when, where, who, how. We don't have to do so much elicitation. We don't have to do so much exploring. We don't have to do so many workshops. But if we have a lot of unknowns, we're going to have to do those things, right? So it wouldn't matter what the stakeholders' preferred approach would be as much if we have all those unknowns. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I misled you earlier whenever I said I don't think it was the need, but yes, it was the need.
One thing I'm not sure, hopefully it is not making you more confused. Of course, it is very common when we are doing the analysis, there is a project also. However, sometimes it might be helpful to think that there might not be even a project at all. So if there is not a project, but still we need to do the analysis.
You mean
So
if we've identified a potential need and we're doing analysis about it?
no, what I'm trying to say, I think it was Chetana selected A, which sounds really good, and whatever was the rationale, it was making sense. But what I'm trying to say, for a moment, think that there might not be even a project at all, but still you're doing the analysis. Still, you need to select an approach for doing the analysis, regardless of that analysis being part of a project. So if there is not a project, then A cannot be correct, isn't it? But still, we need to do the analysis. Still, we need to choose an approach for the analysis.
Yes, you would have to do the analysis whether you had a project or not, if you had a potential need. But we do have a project here.
Okay.
So do y'all understand that if the business need is well defined, you're not going to have to do so much analysis and your techniques would be different than for a business need that's fully defined and everyone already understands all of the elements that need to go into the project?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a painful way for us to learn, but we learn. You're selecting elicitation techniques for our upcoming requirements workshop. What is not a valid criterion to utilize when selecting techniques for an elicitation activity? Is it your preferences, the culture of the organization, cost and time constraints, or desired outcomes? So 3 of these are true, valid criterion to utilize when selecting techniques. 1 of these is not. So selecting techniques is going to be in your planned business analysis approach still. Is your preferences one of the things that's a valid criterion?
It will be good if it was. It will be easier.
It would be easier, but it's not included, is it?
No.
So the culture of the organization, cost and time constraints, and desired outcomes. That's what you use to identify which techniques that you're going to use.
Yeah.
And also there's a couple of others, I think. You need to consider what is familiar to your stakeholders, what is appropriate for their situations, if they're dispersed or not. There's quite a list there. So let's test this one. A BA should select techniques based upon desired outcomes, cost and time constraints, the culture of the organization, and access to the sources of business analysis information, not their own preferences, even though it might be more comfortable. It would be great to be able to say, I love to do process flows and not go do an interview. You just can't do it that way. There are 5 types of elicitation and collaboration tasks that the business analyst must complete as part of their roles and responsibilities. Which one of the following is not a task that the business analyst may complete as part of their roles and responsibilities in this knowledge area? So 5 types of elicitation and collaboration tasks. So 3 of these are in that and 1 is not. Prepare for elicitation, conduct elicitation, engage stakeholders, or communicate business analysis information. Is there one that, can you identify those that are part of the activities? I'm sorry, say that again.
Prepare, conduct. Okay.
So what do you think about
Prepare.
prepare for elicitation?
That's a
It's
check,
part.
yeah.
Okay. Conduct elicitation,
Yes.
engage stakeholders.
No.
That's the one which I feel is not right as well.
Okay, and communicate business analysis information.
Yes.
Okay, so we feel like C is the correct answer. That's the one that is not a task. This is not a stated task for the elicitation and collaboration knowledge area. The tasks include prepare for elicitation, conduct elicitation, confirm elicitation results, communicate business analysis information, and manage stakeholder collaboration. I want to remind y'all that in between conduct elicitation and confirm elicitation results, the BABOK is a little bit picky about you also saying you've got to document your elicitation results. They call it specify and model. You specify and model your elicitation results, and then you can get them confirmed. Until you get them specified and modeled, they're not documented, so you can't get them confirmed. The purpose of the task, identify business analysis performance assessment, the fifth task in the first knowledge area, is to assess business analysis work and plan process improvements. Appropriate performance measures will help the business analyst determine when problems are occurring. These measures may be both quantitative and qualitative. Which of the following best describes why the business analyst may prefer quantitative over qualitative measures? So quantitative starts with quant, which is numbers. Qualitative is not numbers. I'll just say it that way. Can somebody give me an example of a quantitative measure?
Survey.
Tell me how a survey is quantitative.
We can draw and have the exact number of people who prefer a certain feature, for example.
So you get the 23% of the people who prefer this feature. So you have a quantitative measure. If you have people saying, he made me happy, that's qualitative, and it's hard to measure that unless you can turn it into a count. And that turns it into quantitative. So quantitative measures save on time compared to qualitative measures. Qualitative measures are subjective and can be heavily influenced by the stakeholders' attitudes, perceptions, and other subjective criteria. Quantitative measures are more dependable than qualitative measures. Quantitative measures are easier to determine than qualitative measures. So one of these is true. Let's start at the top. Is this one true?
No.
Does working with numbers make it is faster than working with non-numbers? Okay, let's go on to the next one. How about this one? Is this one true?
I go with B.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it true? Okay. Is this one true? Is one more dependable? I could be wrong. I don't remember the Babok saying that. Now let's check this one. Are they easier to determine than qualitative measures? So
It can be, but it's not an exact rule. It doesn't happen every single time.
okay. So are we agreed that B is what the Babok says is true? Best
Yes.
describes why we may prefer quantitative over qualitative. Okay, let's check it. Qualitative measures can be heavily influenced by stakeholders' attitudes and other subjective criteria over which the BA has little control. I've been in projects where the stakeholder satisfaction scores decreased whenever everyone got a cut in pay. It had nothing to do with the performance of the project, but their satisfaction with the project decreased because they were dissatisfied with everything at that point. Nothing I could do about that. According to the Babok, which of the following are tasks listed in the elicitation and collaboration knowledge area? I'm going to let y'all talk through this in your head. I want you to practice comparing the 4 different answers and identifying which one is you want to eliminate. And tell me which one you want to eliminate, and I'll display it on the screen.
D, verify the outcomes of the solution.
So that one is not in there, so we're going to eliminate that one.
Eliminate B for Bahamas as well, because of facilitate stakeholder.
Facilitate stakeholder engagement is why we're eliminating that
And
one.
C, given there is nothing called document elicitation.
Yeah.
It seems like a good idea though, right? Okay, so Gabrielle, do you agree that A is the correct answer? You're on mute, my dear.
Seems
Okay.
to be C.
Do you like C better?
Yes.
So, do we have a task in there called document elicitation?
Uh,
Okay, I've got 2 votes for A. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, let me test A. So this is a correct list of 5 elicitation and collaboration tasks. We do not have a document elicitation in our task list for this knowledge area. In order to plan the most effective business analysis approach, the BA must take into consideration which of the following. So we're going to be planning our approach. We know which task this is. And we have to take into consideration which is probably going to be an input. It may be a guideline or tool. Output from the business analysis performance assessment, information management tools, available metadata, the amount of time the BA has allocated to the initiative. So only go according to the BABOK, not according to your real life examples or experience. Which one can we eliminate?
Available metadata.
Okay. And which one do we think is the right answer?
I feel it's A.
Gabrielle, Jose, what do y'all think?
Yes, I would take the performance assessment.
Yeah.
Okay. Jose, do you agree?
A as well.
Okay, let's check it. Business analysis performance assessment is a guideline and tool. The BA may need to replan their approach based upon findings from the BA performance assessment from previous projects, right? So as we're planning this project, it's like, well, in the last 3 projects, stakeholders hated this technique. So maybe I shouldn't bring it into this one, or you can be brave and do it anyway. What are the inputs to the managed stakeholder collaboration task? So we know which task we're in, finite number of inputs, stakeholder engagement approach and information management approach, stakeholder engagement approach and business analysis approach and business analysis performance assessment, or stakeholder engagement approach and business analysis approach. So remember, managed stakeholder collaboration is your 5th task in the elicitation and collaboration knowledge area. And your purpose in that one is to encourage stakeholders to work toward a common goal. So with that information, what do we need as inputs? What should we eliminate? What do we think is the correct answer?
D for Denmark. Performance assessment. Business analysis approach, business analysis performance.
Chetna, Gabrielle, what do you think?
Should
I'm
be
thinking
a
B.
stakeholder engagement approach or business analysis performance assessment.
Okay. All right, let's test D. These are the stated inputs into the managed stakeholder collaboration task. So you need your engagement approach of how you're going to manage your stakeholders. And then you also need how you have performed in previous projects so that you can utilize those things that worked and know which things didn't work in the past. Annika is a BA who's getting pressure from her management about obtaining the approval for her solution requirements. The business requirements have been signed off on, and the solution has been chosen. Annika met with her director to educate him on why it is inappropriate at this time to review the solution since she's not finished with her technical requirement specification. Once she has the document completed, she'll review it with the management team. What approach should Annika preferably take? This is in meeting with her director. So, should she create a presentation and high-level functionality delivered by the solution and present it to stakeholders on approval? Should she inform her project manager of the solution so that they can address any potential issues together? Should she explain why her approach is the correct one and ask for patience? Or should she inform her manager of the pressure she's receiving so that they can address any potential issues? So, which task is she in? The business requirements have been signed off on, so she has finished approved requirements, right? And the solution has been chosen, but she's not finished with her technical requirement specification. So is she in approved requirements?
I mean, Thea, I don't see so much of a difference between B and D. Here it's very vague when we say it's just a situation, and here it's just more specific where she's mentioning of the pressure. But in terms of the answer, B and D seems to be very close.
They are very close. This is project manager and this is manager.
Ah, okay, I didn't quite notice that. Okay, good catch there. Uh, I think project manager. I go with B.
Okay.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. So
Oh,
what she needs to do is create a presentation of the high-level functionality. So what it says up in the question is the business requirements have been signed off, the solution has been chosen, but she has not finished the technical requirement specification. So let's talk about where she's at in the project. They've identified what they want from the requirements perspective, but they haven't finished the designs. They haven't said we're going to have this screen that has this information on it. They have gotten to the point where they say we have a screen where they can input the information. They haven't finished what they're going to do, the specifics of what they're going to do. So she's not ready to say that you can sign off on the solution because the solution hasn't been fully designed. What she needs to do is say, this is what we've agreed to so far, and that's what you would call a high-level functionality. We want to be able to do these things, but we don't know how it's going to look. We can't tell you what success looks like yet because we haven't got the design finished. So she wants to get that presented to stakeholders for approval. And let's see. So she's doing both approve requirements and she's doing communicate business analysis information in these two. The reason that informing the project manager is not the best answer is because the issue is that she's not creating the necessary documentation that management requires. So she needs to get this job done before she talks to them about pressure. Does that make sense?
Simple.
Yep, clear.
How is
Good.
it? How is it usually done when I'm working with users? Normally, it's so that they are not able to uh, express their needs about the technical uh, requirements they have, and they most often show me a technical solution and which features are realized with the software, and then we formulate the requirements.
Okay, so it sounds like you're talking about the business requirements that you're obtaining from your users, from the business. And we have the business requirements signed off. The business has expressed what they need, but we don't have the solution requirements signed off on because we don't have the solution fully designed. She hasn't finished her technical requirement specifications. That would require her to sit down with the developers and maybe the business also and say, these are the business requirements that we want. What would that look like on the screen? Or what would that look like on the box, depending on what you're actually creating. If, what would the flow be between the screens? How do we design that? And getting those specified so that to the point where the developers can create it and the testers can test it according to that. The testers are never going to test according to the business requirements. They're going to test according to your technical solution requirements. Does that make sense, Gabrielle?
Yes, okay.
Perfect. Let's move on. As a business analyst, you have completed a review workshop meeting with the accountable individuals, and they have approved the requirements with minor changes. You now want to understand the requirements relationship with other requirements and work products for purpose of prioritization. Which guideline and tool would you utilize for, let's see, this part right here. Here's our question. So would we use a guideline or tool? I'm sorry, let's go back. Which task are we in? To understand the requirements relationship with with other requirements and work products for purposes of prioritization. What task is that?
Traceability?
You would need some visibility, but that's not the task. I'm wanting the task out of the BABOK.
Prioritize requirements.
Prioritize requirements. Prioritizing requirements is literally what is the relationship between this requirement and any other requirement, higher or lower, and then the work products that you use for prioritization. If that's going to be a Jira board or a spreadsheet, whatever it's going to be, to capture the prioritization so everyone can see it. So which guideline or tool would you utilize for prioritize requirements? Would that be enterprise architecture, trace requirements, governance approach, or requirements architecture?
I think we can rule out enterprise architecture.
Why is that?
I mean, that's more of an umbrella architecture overall, not specific to the project or the handful of the requirements that we are trying to, sort out the
Okay.
order and prioritize.
It's asking literally for a guideline or tool. It's got to be in that task.
From my side, I would say it could be governance approach, because
Okay.
in the governance approach there is uh, there's documented how to prioritize, how the decisions about the requirements and risks and so on.
I second the same answer. The same. I agree.
Okay. Jose, what do you think?
Yeah, makes sense, governance, but I'm still on the fence because I associate governance with approvals,
Okay.
not so much.
What do you think about requirements architecture?
Governance. I still need to review this one because I will probably immediately go to trace requirements.
Okay. Well, let's check governance and let's see what the answer is. So, governance outlines the approach for prioritizing requirements, but it does not outline the relationships between them. Requirements architecture is going to be your list of your requirements, wherever you keep it. And it's going to say, it's going to show you the dependencies and it's going to show you what should come before it, what should come after it. It's going to show you which ones are most important, who you got it from, what the request the output should be. It's going to have your acceptance criteria. It's going to have all that stuff. That's your requirements architecture. I have gotten tripped up on this in the past. And the reason I got tripped up on it is because I look at requirements architecture, my brain sees architecture, and I'm thinking about system architecture. That's not what the Babok's talking about when it says requirements architecture. It's literally talking about how you structure your document for requirements, whether it's a spreadsheet or in Jira or TFS or Azure or whatever else. So for purposes of prioritization, requirements architecture will facilitate understanding of the relationships between the requirements and the work products. Does that
Can you
make sense?
choose? Yeah, can you choose B so I can try to understand the
Yes.
rationale?
So trace requirements is a task. It's not a guideline or tool. It was asking for the guideline or tool. While this is a close answer, the scenario's context is one of requirements prioritization, making requirements architecture the correct response.
I need to start really reading the questions and answers.
It's really important that you don't miss words and that you don't make assumptions. That's one reason whenever we answer we go through the answers, I go through all four. I want you to practice going through all four, even if you think the first one is the right answer. It's like, okay, but that's not the right answer. Okay. I mean, just go through all four because you might get to one is like, that's a better answer than the one that I thought was the right answer. Okay. Governance approach is what we chose. Let me go back to that one. Did I do it right? Okay. Now, next question. Rohan has been working as a business analyst on a city transportation project. He's recently identified a list of stakeholders who are directly and indirectly impacted by the change or who can influence the project. So, stakeholders who are directly or indirectly impacted by the change or who can influence the project. That's our role that we have to identify. Rohan now wants to identify where and how each stakeholder will collaborate in the initiative. What's the next step Rohan should take in this information? So he's identified the list of stakeholders. What task is he in? So this looks like to me he's not started doing any elicitation. So it's pre-elicitation. That means it's going to be a business analysis, planning, and monitoring. And the task that he's in, whenever he's as identifying stakeholders, that task is going to be planned stakeholder engagement, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
And so in that task, he also needs to identify where and how each stakeholder will contribute to the initiative. So should he collect the contact details for each stakeholder so he can reach out to them and learn more about them? Study the org chart thoroughly to gain insight as to how stakeholders fit into the organization. obtain additional information about roles of each identified stakeholder on the list, or observe the stakeholders to see if they have positive or negative attitude toward the project. Is there one eliminate?
Eliminate A.
Yeah, A is out.
Okay. What do we feel is the right answer?
C for Canada.
Gabrielle?
I'm
Chetna?
also thinking D because I somewhat recollect something about the stakeholders' attitudes. Uh,
Okay.
how each
This
stakeholder
one,
will contribute to the initiative. Okay.
I would also say D, because the question is, what next step should Rohan take to obtain this information?
I think he already has the list of the stakeholders now, directly, indirectly, and who can influence the project. So, in a way, the roles of these stakeholders have also been identified. So, I'll go
Well,
with D.
okay. I've got 2 votes for D. Let's test it.
Maybe, yeah,
Okay, so
obtain.
this one does not focus on getting information how each stakeholder will contribute to the initiative, which is what the question was asking. Identify when and where. So obtaining additional information about the roles of each stakeholder identified on the list will help Rohan get a high level understanding of when and how each stakeholder could contribute to the initiative. So he's been given a list of names and said these people will be influencing or influenced by your project, but he doesn't necessarily know the roles.
Okay.
So
Jose,
Chetna, I understand why you thought he did, because in real life, whenever we were given a list of stakeholders, like this person's going to do this and this person
Mhm.
has this information. So you were given the roles, but that's not what it's saying here.
Right.
Any questions on this one? Okay, let's move on. Which of the following is not a component of the risk analysis and management technique? So we want to not. 3 of these are part of the risk analysis and management technique. And just remember, which task are we in? Risk analysis and management is in what task?
The
Is it
B is not a component.
okay? So impact of risk is, risk response plan is, and likelihood of occurrence is, and we actually use the risk management technique in multiple tasks, don't we? Do I have agreement on B?
Mm-hmm.
This is a component of the failure mode and effects analysis, which is something Babok doesn't even talk about. It's not recognized as a component of the risk analysis management technique in the Babok. So these 3 are, and this one is not. I get this, it's almost like a cartoon in my head of, I've never been in a risk meeting where we said, well, that'll be easy to identify. It's like, it doesn't matter. We're worried about if it happens, what are we going to do? What is our plan? And what are the chances of it happening? It's not how easy it is to identify. We do identify what tells us if it's happening, but not the ease of that. Janine is a BA and new to her company. She has been assigned to an effort to improve reporting on inventory levels and reorder points. In planning the work she needs to do, she realizes there's a great deal of information she needs to manage and requirements to trace. Which of the following would Janine request to have access to in order to adequately do her job? So let's look at the question. It looks as though she's trying to manage her requirements, right? So this is the maintain requirements task. Am I right?
Yep.
Or is she in plan business analysis information management?
Trace.
I would say it's a configuration management system.
So she's trying to figure out how she's going to manage the requirements she gets in the project. She's planning the work. So if there's a lot of requirements, a lot of information that she's got to manage, would she want a configuration management system, a requirements management tool or repository, an information management approach, or a knowledge management tool? Which one can we eliminate?
I think we can eliminate knowledge management tools.
So what do we think is the right answer?
It says information management approach. That wouldn't be a tool that we're referring to, right? So I think we can strike out information management approach. More of a task rather than a tool.
That's an output of
Yes.
this task. You're right. Right. So what is the right answer?
I think I'll go with requirement management tools or repository.
Okay, got one vote for B.
I'm
Yes, well.
voting for A.
Tell me why you like A better than B.
Because she's working on the reporting on inventory levels, and this is normally hosted in configuration management systems.
Okay, but is that what the BABOK says?
I don't know if
It's okay.
Babok knows configuration management.
I like your logic. However, we've got to go by what the BABOK says that we have to do if there's a large amount of information to manage and requirements to trace. I've got 2 votes for B. Let's test B. This is a guideline or tool used to store and manage business analysis information and would help Janine in the challenges described. It may be as simple as a text document or as complex as a dedicated requirements management tool.
Thea, I looked up this one on the Babok. It says requirement management tools or repository is a tool to record requirement approvals. It's not mentioning anything around tracing requirements. It's a little tricky. I mean, there is no mention of this in the Babok as such. There's only one liner about requirements management tools or repository, and it says all the approvals associated with the requirements is captured there.
But there is a place that it talks about if you have a large number of requirements, a large amount of information, you probably will benefit from having a requirements management tool.
I think there's a different section it's talking of here, 5.1.5. Okay, I'm just going to check
Yeah,
that.
5.1.5 is where you should look to find this answer.
Okay. Yeah, there is mention of it here. 5.1.5. I was in a different section. Okay.
Okay, let's move on. Which of the following is not a consideration when approving requirements? So approving requirements is the task. Is it governance approach, understand stakeholder roles, conflict and issue management, or gain consensus? What can we eliminate?
I would say gain consensus is what we don't consider. We try to gain consensus when we are confirming the requirements.
Okay, so in the requirements, in the task, approve requirements, Gain consensus is one of our elements. So the elements in that task are part of what we are considering as part of our consideration.
Oh yeah, consensus is listed. Conflict and issue management is also there.
Okay.
And understand stakeholders. Understand stakeholder roles. Yeah.
Okay. Is governance approach listed?
No, I don't see governance approach. No.
Okay, so these three are three of the four. The other one that is listed is track and communicate approval. So this is not one of the elements that's listed. So in approved requirements, the goal is to obtain agreement on and approval of requirements and designs for business analysis work to continue and or solution construction to proceed. The four elements in that are understand stakeholder roles, conflict and issue management, gain consensus, and track and communicate approval. The input that you have to have is requirements, verified, and designs. What is the output of the managed stakeholder collaboration task? So we know which task it is. Only one output, I think. So is it stakeholder collaboration, stakeholder engagement, business analysis performance assessment, or stakeholder lists, maps, and personas? Can we eliminate one?
Stakeholder list, maps, and personas.
Right. So what is the correct answer?
I think business analysis performance assessment also doesn't fit here. It's just a collaboration task.
So this is an output of a different task, right?
Mm-hmm.
So which of these two is the correct answer?
Stakeholder engagement or collaboration. I don't know which language. I'll go for engagement.
Gabrielle, what do you think?
You gave her your.
The output could be a stakeholder list, maps, and personas.
The reason that it's not this is a technique, it's not the output. It's not listed as the output for this particular task.
Performance.
So let's test stakeholder engagement. The output is defined as willingness from stakeholders to engage in business analysis activities and interact with the business analyst when necessary. So we use collaboration to get engagement. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Move on. Monique is analyzing historical data to identify information relevant to her current project. Which type of elicitation is Monique utilizing? So, analyzing historical data, there's three kinds of elicitation. Is this one called collaborative, experiments, research, or document analysis? One of these is not one of the types of elicitation. Can you tell me which one that is?
Document analysis. It's a technique.
Okay. So which of these three types of elicitation is she utilizing?
Research. Looking for something in the past.
Research involves systematically discovering and studying information from materials or sources that are not directly known by stakeholders to identify trends or past results. Stakeholders can still participate in the research. So, can you tell me one of the hazards of utilizing document analysis as your only way to get requirements? What's wrong with that idea?
It not being up to date,
It's not
especially.
up to date. Anything that's been printed or published at that time, it might have been up to date, but if any time has passed, it's probably not up to date, and so it's always suspect. Which of the following permits the business analyst to identify and document a requirements relationship to other requirements, business rules, work products, and solution components? So it's a thing that allows us to do this. Is it a requirements workshop, a business analysis package, requirements traceability, or requirements reviews? Which one can we eliminate? Can we eliminate any of them?
I think traceability.
You want to eliminate that, or is that the answer?
Sorry, I take it back. I think I'm still puzzled. No.
It's okay.
Could be the workshop.
Is that
I think
the answer? Or
I,
that's the one you want to eliminate?
This is the answer.
Okay. Jose, what is your vote?
I will go for business analysis package or requirements traceability.
Okay, so your vote is B or C.
Yeah.
Why do you like those better than requirements workshop?
I know that the business analysis package is part of the elicitation knowledge area, and the traceability just makes sense with maintaining relationships, business rules, and such.
Okay. And Gabrielle, why do you like requirements workshop better?
Because there are, I ask all people why and which requirements are there and which relationships are to the
Okay.
components. And the traceability is only to see what was the history of the requirements.
Okay, vertical
I think
traceability, horizontal traceability. Yeah.
Okay.
So the traceability from my side I would exclude.
same here, Thea. I think traceability will not perhaps include work products and solution components. So that makes me feel requirement traceability can be ruled out. Uh,
Okay.
I would also
So
go business analysis package.
okay. So Chetna, what do you think is the right answer?
It's again mostly a guess.
That's okay. We're gonna find the right answer in just a minute, but give me your guess.
I'll go with the package.
Okay, let's test it. Okay, so
Oh,
um,
okay.
the package is used to communicate requirements and designs to stakeholders. The requirements traceability permits the business analyst to identify and document the lineage of each requirement to other requirements, work products, and to other components. So you can say you get more information about this in this process flow, or this came from this particular document, because that's all in your requirements document, right? And so you create your traceability. I like to do it inside my requirements document. That way I don't have two documents to maintain. And you have everything together. The work products, the solution components, the business rules, everything's in there together. Does that make sense?
I just I was a little puzzled with the idea of solution components in a traceability document. So, okay.
Yeah, I will just
So,
focus on the document, the the relationship, an
Mhm.
actual document. Yeah.
mhm.
Okay.
It could be a link to the document.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tia,
Um,
let me repeat something, hopefully for good. Something I have learned, and Tia has been saying it repetitively, and I really love the way that you're thinking. For instance, Gabriel, the way that you're thinking is really correct. However, as Tia tried to emphasize, since we are trying to prepare an examination which is based on the BABOK, so if we don't understand the BABOK terminology and the language of the BABOK, it's really not easy to have this exam clear. In the practical life, however, you might not really need to speak the BABOK language. In practical life, you can do, and it can be very successful, and you can really do your work. But to have this exam clear, it is better to understand the BABOK language. And also, it is a kind of a modern understanding linguistically. Sometimes it is really helpful to understand what this word mean or what was the meaning of this word historically. But the modern impression and understanding is what people understand and use this particular word today. If they use this word today to mean water, so it is water. And if Babok is using this word to mean it for this particular activities or task, it means this, and it is a common language for the business analyst based on the Babok. And of course, if you want to have the exam clear, hopefully this is helpful. And Tia has been trying to emphasize again and again. Let's learn Babok language and let's try to understand which terms are used to refer to what. Otherwise, the way that you're thinking is really correct, and I really love it.
the phrase I use is learn the voice of the Babok. You gotta learn its terminology, or you don't understand what it's trying to teach you. It says something, and you have assumptions of what you think it means, but you gotta learn what it wants you to think whenever you hear it. Okay, let's move on. You're a business analyst working on a project to upgrade a current billing system. After eliciting all the requirements from relative stakeholders, you set up a meeting with the solution team to explain the new functionality requested and review the changes needed to the existing functionality. In this meeting with the developers, you discover that some of the requirements will not work with the current system functionality, and you find inconsistencies and gaps in the requirements. As a business analyst, what could you have done to avoid these issues earlier in your process? The business analyst could have involved development team in the elicitation activities. The business analyst could have studied the current system functionalities well before eliciting requirements. The business analyst could have questioned the right SMEs or knowledgeable stakeholders who had understood the system functionality. Or the business analyst could have confirmed the elicitation results right after any elicitation activities to ensure they were accurate. I'm going to put up a big red flag here. It doesn't matter what your experience is or what you would do. It matters what the Babok says you would do or should have done. So the Babok presents a situation that's similar to this very briefly, and it says this is what you should have done. So you have to know that to be able to answer this question correctly. In the real world, this is what I would have done. That's not what the Babok says.
Yes, I was thinking the same. Okay.
Of course, they're in there to say, no, we can't do that thing you're asking for. And you don't even have to document the requirement. But you've documented these requirements, and the developers are going, our system can't do that. What do y'all think is the correct answer? What do you think of B?
It makes sense, but it's not the job of a business analyst to
That's right.
to
Yeah, I think it would be quite hard from that position to determine if there was going to be a conflict.
Right. Right. We are not supposed to learn everything about everything and replace the other SMEs. It's our job to get them into the conversation. So, what do you think about C or D? I'm going to remind you that SMEs just means someone who knows something about something specific. So, you can have a SME that's a developer.
yeah, yeah. We could have a SME that is a developer, and during elicitation, we would have questioned the right SMEs, including developers. So I will go with D. After eliciting the requirements, we need to confirm them.
Yeah, there is a task confirm elicitation, so I reckon D it is from my end.
You're correct. Elicited information should be confirmed to identify and resolve any gaps or problems before resources are committed to using this information. So what they did up here in the story is they talked to the business and they never went and talked to the developers. They should have talked to the business and then talked to the developers and talked to the business and talked to the developers until they got a list of things that the business wanted and the developers could do, and then go to the developers and say, this is what I want you to do. So that way it was a reasonable, realistic list of things that they could do. Good reasoning, guys. Last question. Which of the following statements is associated with predictive approach? Remember what predictive means. What's the word we use in the real world for predictive approach?
Waterfall.
Waterfall. This approach tends to be preferred when requirements can be effectively defined prior to implementation. This approach tends to be preferred when taking an exploratory approach. Formal documentation is often produced after the solution is implemented to facilitate knowledge transfer. Requirements are oftentimes limited to a prioritized list. So, can we eliminate one?
B.
Yeah.
So, not exploratory. Nothing is unknown in a predictive approach. Everything is known, right? So, what is the best answer?
I think I'll go with C.
We got one vote for C. Gabrielle, what do you think?
I mean, A also sounds fine when we are talking of waterfall approach. A or C.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will go with A because with waterfall, formal documentation can be produced at any time, not only after the solution is implemented.
That's a good point.
Mm.
Chetna, are you changing your mind?
I'm still half foot in A and half in C.
Okay. Gabrielle, what do you think?
Maybe B.
You like B as in boy?
Um, from my side, it's predictive. It's something in the future.
Okay. Predictive approach means waterfall in the BABOK.
So this is my misunderstanding because predictive, descriptive is a description of the past, and from my side, from the data science, there is predictive more the things in the future.
Okay. That's not the way the BABOK uses it. Let's test A and then we'll look at the answer for B. So this approach tends to be preferred in situations where the requirements can be effectively defined ahead of implementation and the risk of incorrect implementation is unnecessarily high, or when engaging stakeholders presents significant challenges. So the reason B is not correct. This is true of adaptive approaches, which is what we call agile, and which is willing to accept a higher degree of uncertainty. Does that make
And the
sense,
reason
Gabrielle?
for C, Thea? Why has C been ruled out?
This is true of adaptive approaches, which focuses on speed to market.
Okay.
Okay, y'all are doing great on this. Let's submit this exam. Okay, we got 76%. We did great on elicitation and collaboration at 100%. And we did great, pretty good on business analysis, planning, and monitoring. Requirements lifecycle management, we did not do great. Why don't we do a test next week on just requirements lifecycle management and focus in on that one? Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we will be in chapter 4 next week, and you're going to have to remind me, but we'll be in chapter 4, and I encourage you to really focus in on it. Chapter 4 is like the beginning of the medium hard ones. Chapter 4 and 5 are the mediums. 6, 7, and 8 are the harder ones. But we're ramping you up into the ability to do the hardest ones. Okay. I encourage you to study, and I will add you back to the Slack channel. Do you have any questions?
For the Slack, I seem to have lost the.
Yeah, for some reason Slack kicked everybody out, and I thought it was because y'all hadn't been using it, but maybe there's some other thing going on. I'll ask our Vice President of Technology to take a look at it, be sure there's nothing, set it improperly in there, but I will give you access to Slack this weekend.
Fine. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank y'all very much. I'm going to stop the recording.